Hi guys! So today I wanted to talk about the top 5 differences between being pregnant in the US and being pregnant in Japan. Now, none of these did I know before I became pregnant in Japan, and I definitely didn't know them when I moved to Japan, so they were super surprising to me. So yeah, let's get started. So number 1, pregnancy related appointments. Anytime you go to the doctor, unless it's for a real medical reason in Japan when you're pregnant, is not covered by national health insurance. So, national health insurance, if you don't know, in Japan, most people have it, and it covers a lot of things from going to the doctor if you're sick to dental work. There's a lot of things it covers, and pregnancy is not one of them. So, instead, when you find out you're pregnant in Japan, you need to go register your pregnancy at your city ward office. So, for example, if you live in Tokyo and you live in Shibuya, then you need to go to the Shibuya ward office and register your pregnancy. And at that time, they will give you some vouchers that you can use at your doctor's appointments to get about, well, it depends on your doctor, but you get about 50% of the cost back to you. So instead of going through your insurance, you go through the vouchers provided by your city ward office. So that's one big difference. Now, difference number 2. So in the US, I believe when you go to the doctor over the course of your pregnancy, you get maybe 3 or 4 ultrasounds. But in Japan, and I didn't know this until I went to the doctor the second time, you get an ultrasound at every single appointment with your doctor. So right now I am almost 35 weeks pregnant and I've had about 8 appointments. So I've had 8 ultrasounds that I've gotten to see the baby. So it's actually kind of nice because you get to really track how the baby is developing and there's really no guesswork involved, which makes me feel a lot more comfortable. So yeah, that's difference number 2. And difference number 3 is actually that the majority of women in Japan give birth without any form of pain relief. So I know in the US it's really, and the UK actually, it's really popular to use an epidural during your labor. And I think the statistic now is upwards of 70% of women use an epidural, but in Japan it's really not that common at all. And even in Tokyo, which is the biggest metropolitan city, only a few hospitals and a few doctors even offer the epidural. So if you really want one, you have to make sure you go to a particular hospital and you register early because those spaces tend to fill up quite quickly. So that was one huge surprise I had when I came to Japan. But luckily, I am planning to have an unmedicated birth anyway, so it doesn't really affect me. But if you are planning to give birth in Japan and you do want an epidural, I would highly advise you to do some research on some of the hospitals that provide them and start working with a doctor right away who will perform the epidural because it could be really difficult to get into some of these hospitals. So please start that process now. Okay, so moving on to difference number 4. So when you go to register your pregnancy at the city ward office, you will receive a few things, and I'm going to talk about 2 of them. So the first one is the Maternity and Child Health Handbook, and I talked about this in a blog post, I believe, but this is also known as your boshetecho in Japanese, and mine is the English version, so you can get bilingual versions, luckily. But basically what this is a little booklet where you can keep track of all the information that you receive at all of your appointments. Your doctor fills out your weight, baby's weight, any blood tests that you get. All of that information remains in your handbook. So you keep this book, I think until your child is about 3 years old or so, and you continue to take it to the pediatrician and all that information is stored in one place, which is really convenient. And next, you will receive this little button. So let me see if I can show you. There we go. And this little button is meant to hang on your bag, and it actually is really, really handy because in Tokyo at least, the trains can get really packed. And the reason that pregnant women are given this are so that people will offer to give up their seat for you on the train. Well, whether or not that actually happens, I'm not always sure, but it also allows you to sit in the sort of restricted area on this train that is meant for elderly people or people with a heart condition or a physical disability, and then also pregnant mothers. So this is a super, super handy button to have, and especially if you don't quite look pregnant yet, having this button allows you to sit in those seats, especially during the first and second trimester when you can actually feel pretty bad. So this is really helpful, and those are two things that you get when you register your pregnancy at the city ward office in Japan. And the last difference I wanted to talk about is difference number 5, and that is regarding baby clothes in Japan. So I started going shopping for baby clothes thinking that I was going to be able to find basically everything that I found in the US in Japan, and unfortunately for some things that's not really true. So one of the most surprising things that I found is that for newborn to 0 to 3 months size, which in Japan sizing is 40 centimeters and 50 centimeters size, there are not your normal baby sleepers. And what I mean by baby sleeper is something like this, just a normal zip-up sleeper. This one's from Baby Gap, and I think it's 0 to 3 month size. Super cute. So these are not available in newborn or 0 to 3 month size in Japanese stores. So what you will get, and I have one of them because my city ward office gave them to me, are these little kimono kind of onesies. And as you can see, they have a little tie, and they do tie around the legs, but there are there are 2 snaps around the legs. Okay, so they're a little bit more open. They're not as enclosed as the newborn sleepers that I'm used to, but they're also super cute. I haven't used these yet, of course, because I haven't had my baby, but I don't know if I would like tying these very much. So I think I will maybe prefer the newborn sleepers like this because they're a little bit more convenient, at least to me. But maybe that's just because that's what I'm used to. So that was one surprise that I had when shopping for baby clothes in Japan. But luckily, there's a lot of places that you can buy baby sleepers like this one, like Baby Gap or even Next ships to Japan. So I've bought a lot from there. And yeah, so I think that's it for this video. Those are my top 5 major differences between pregnancy in Japan and pregnancy in the US. I hope this video was helpful, and please hit the subscribe button below and like this video if you like it. And also let me know in the comments if you have any questions about giving birth in Japan, or you have any experiences with giving birth in a foreign country and what surprised you. I'd love to know. So anyways, thanks everyone, bye! Sorry for the delay. I'm trying to figure out how to even tie these. Honestly, I have no idea.